Hello everybody and welcome back to Dynamic GT League for the Walker Memorial Trophy. Race 1 is going to be from the San Croix circuit. And let's take a look at some of this championship's details. Race 1 is going to have a 5-minute qualifying session with no qualifying sessions at races 2 to 9. The grid will be set in the standings order. It'll be 40-minute races starting at 8:15 PM UK time with weak boost and real slipstream. And here's a list of the tracks on the road to Race Wars at Laguna Seca. Pretty much all street circuits, and just to let everybody know, all of the events will be at the location's latest PM time, but not in the wet. Okay, let's take a look at how the result of what effectively was a one-shot qualifying for race 1, with it only being 5 minutes long. And we have Steve F1 sitting on pole position. Dave the Harp is going to join him on that front row, with Twilight taking 3rd place and Demon R alongside him in 4th. We've then got SGP alongside Mitch, and then we've got Fluffy, and oh my goodness, it's Rich, his best ever qualifying position, apart from the reverse grid when he had pole, but he's actually earned this 8th place. Jimmy's in 9th alongside Groover in 10th, with Bunsel 11th, Jason 12th, Gary 13th and Mandalorian 14th. Right, let's go and join our commentary team for all of the action. And joining me on commentary today is Steve F1. How are you today, Steve? Sitting on pole position.
I'm good, thank you, yeah. Looking forward to a good race.
So am I. Hopefully we're going to be in for a brilliant start to the championship. Hang on a minute. What the hell is this?
Hello, Dynamic GT League. I have been watching you, and Tyler, the things you do in your bedroom are disgusting. And no, I won't let you out, but I do want to play a game.
Is it Monopoly? Is it this one?
No, not that game, that's boring. I want to play an exciting game. An interesting game.
Ooh, Fortnite!
No, I don't want to play that. I'm not 12. I want to play a game that gets the heart pumping and the arse twitching.
What about this one?
No, you pervert. But I will save that for later. Anyway, enough messing about. I want to play a game. Dynamic GT League, I challenge you all. I challenge you to play my game or not so top trumps. The drivers in this order will be able to choose from one of 4 cars, and you have until the 28th of April to make your choice from a Toyota, which is crap, a Volkswagen, which is not so crap, an Alfa Romeo, it will break down, and a Subaru, which is actually pretty good. There will be only 4 of each car, so when each 4 have been chosen, there will be no more for anybody else. Although the reserves can make any of the 4, it will not affect their count, and the car you choose is the car you will use for the whole championship. So are you ready to play my game? The special 4 cop. What are you laughing at? Stop laughing at me!
Well, I've no idea what the bloody hell that was, but we've got a race to get going and the lights are about to go out and away they go, and it looks like a decent start from Dave the Harp. He's going to be attacking Steve F1 down into the first corner. Demon R getting close as well, and I think is that Twilight? Yes, it is. Twilight had a great starting position, getting himself in there. Dave the Harp big sideways, and Steve F1 back up the inside. Not a bad move from you there, Steve.
Yeah, it looks like he's now lost momentum now. Dave the Harp and Demon R getting some good momentum around the outside, and yes, Steve F1's down to 3rd and Dave the Harp in the lead.
Yeah, that he is. Mitch closing in as well, getting very close as we see the beautiful liveries and the shining lights. Oh, Steve F1 is coming under a lot of pressure. Mitch trying to go around the outside. This is not the easiest of racetracks to drive around on your own. Driving around it with plenty of other people, also not easy to do. But Mitch has been showing over the last championship ship that he's definitely improved his driving. SGP though trying to make a move on Twilight, who got big twitchy. But yeah, Steve, I mean this track, looking at the track map, it's as if someone's like got one of their kids and gone draws a racetrack.
Yeah, well, big challenge for the drivers this race. Not only a new car to get used to, but a new track layout for the DGT League to get used to. So yeah, not surprising to see a few people looking on the edge at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Mitch is closing in on Demon R. Demon R getting a bit of understeer there as David Harper's opened up his lead. Mitch has got a good run as they go through the right-hander. Tricky corner, this one, leading on to the back straight. It's quite a fast corner, which leads on to probably one of the best overtaking opportunities. And Mitch is getting up alongside Demon R. Steve F1 closing in as well on the slipstream. Oh, this could get interesting.
Yeah. Mitch, a really good start, looking like he's going around the outside of Demon R.
Oh,
and he's almost having a go at Dave the Harp as well.
I don't know if he was having a go at Dave the Harp or if he was avoiding Dave the Harp. He may have got his braking a little bit wrong there. Steve F1 though up the inside, opportunistic, lovely move. Could take 2 places in the hairpin. That's beautifully done as Fluffy is leading the pack at the moment. We have got a little bit of a gap from Twilight in 6th as Steve F1 now coming under pressure from Demon R over the bridge, but here comes SGP as well. This is fantastic stuff. I can't see.
Had a bad qualifying session, but this battle is playing right into his hands. He's right on the back of Demon R and Steve F1 there.
Yeah, that he is.
In fact, he's past Demon R.
Yeah, he is. He's made the move. Oh, someone's just gone big deep at the corner after the bridge there. Was going to say, yeah, I mean, you mentioned about it's a new car for the guys to be driving. Obviously, it's not a race car, really. It's a road car. Or SGP trying to take a tighter line around the long, kind of turkey-ish in the other direction corner. But now he's got the inside line to the penultimate, has he? Yes, he has. He's going to need to make sure he does not run wide. But yeah, new car, but also some very different event details. Oh, is Jason making a move on Fluffy?
Yeah, but lovely move there from SGP. He just seems to be picking one car off at a time at the moment. He had the pace in practice, but obviously that bad qualifying it put him back down the order. But yeah, he's working his way up in good fashion at the moment.
That he is. Jimmy making some moves through the final corner there. It's very interesting. There is a little bit of a gap between Demon R in 6th and this pack from 7th down. Oh, Groover big sideways as Jason trying to go around the outside of Gary and Groover. So yeah, Fluffy and Jimmy are sort of battling it out at the moment. Jason and Gary going at it. Oh, Fluffy's having a look at Jimmy. Is he going to make it up the inside into the left-hander?
Yeah, and you saw the sideways, some of the cars sideways in turn 1. This car, if you just push that a little bit too hard, the car does slide, particularly on these hard tyres. So we're going to probably see a lot of that in this race. Cars getting sideways, particularly when they're going for late moves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a nice car to drive, but if you overdrive it, it'll punish you. Oh, is Jimmy coming under pressure from Jason? I mean, Jason, it looked like he was almost tipping over there trying to control that going into the corner. But the interesting thing as well, I mean, the drivers are starting with 80 litres of fuel in the car. I mean, is that amount of fuel enough to get to the end, do you reckon?
Yeah, well, this is the first race under these new rules, so yeah, it's actually no one seems to really know going into the race. It could be possible, but is it worth just doing a quick stop, putting on fresh tyres and just not having to worry about fuel saving? That's the thing that I think we're going to have to find out later in the race.
It's a good question, that, and not only that, I mean, the tyres, I mean, as you mentioned, they're racing hard, so the tyre wear's not that evil, so we may see tyres lasting the whole race, or we could see people going for a fresh set of tyres and trying to benefit from the new rubber. We'll have to wait and see. We've still got Dave the Harp leading the way ahead of Mitch. SGP closing in on him. Oh my goodness me, yeah, this is DGT. It's bloody bonkers.
Yeah, look at Jason and Mandalorian. I mean, they're drivers who've won races in DGT in the past, and they're right in the thick of that pack. So yeah, they must be a bit frustrated at the moment that they're not higher up.
Yeah, I think someone just had a little bit of a tank slapper there and nudged somebody off the track. I couldn't see who it was. Davey Harp, though, he's coming under a bit of pressure here. I think he's lost some time through the last couple of corners.
Yeah, I'm wondering, did he make a mistake? Because he had a nice little gap in the lead a minute ago, and now he's got 2 cars all over the back of him.
He really has, as they come over the bridge. Tricky braking zone into a not a difficult right-hander as Mitch and SGP. SGP's going to go all the way around the outside of Mitch. That's a beautiful move into the tight left-hander. Well, you've got to watch out for the wall on the exit. That's a lovely move from SGP. Mitch could be swamped here by Steve F1 as well, and he's trying to cover that off because that horrible tight corner leads on to the long right-hander.
Yeah, lovely move from SGP there, again going around the outside. So it does seem that this car, you can actually carry the speed around the outside on these tyres. The grip seems to be there, so yeah, nice move from SGP.
Yeah, definitely. He's also straight away, he's on the back of Dave the Harp, and he's trying to pressure Dave the Harp as well. Excuse me, mate. Oh, he's side by side with Dave the Harp going into the final corner. Dave's a little early on the brakes, and SGP carries the speed around the outside. I don't blame Dave for being a little early on the brakes. I mean, look how close he got to the wall. If he'd have been any later, is he going for the pits? No.
Yeah, was that a sideways moment, or was he thinking about going to the pits there, do you think?
Knowing Dave, it could have been anything. We have got somebody into the pits. It's Mandalorian, and look, he's got 66 litres of fuel, or percent of fuel left. Jason trying to make moves on Jimmy and Bunsell and Gary into the first corner. Oh, Bunsel's gone wide. I think Gary went wide as well. Yes, he
lovely
did.
They all managed to give each other space. Yeah, there was a couple of cars went wide, but it was all good awareness shown and some good racing into that first corner.
It's all fair in love and racing. There we see Jason again, a little bit twitchy on the exit of the corner. I don't think Jason's been able to get as much practice in as he would have liked, but this is a car, like you mentioned, I wouldn't say it's easy to get it sideways, but if you push it a bit too hard, it will go a little sideways on you. But it's definitely controllable and drivable, and as we're seeing here, it's definitely raceable. As Jimmy I thought Fluffy was going to go for him up the inside, but thought better off it. Actually, no, Fluffy's miles ahead. It must have been Jimmy. No, it was Rich, sorry.
Yeah, Fluffy's made a little bit of a break now, can he? The one who can be a driver to watch today, because he really didn't get on with last season's car, so I'm sure he's hoping to have a better season in this one, and he's making that little break now.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Jimmy, I thought Jimmy was having a look at making the move, and then Gary looked like he was making the move, but he's not. And he's just nudged, who was that? He's nudged Bunsell. Bunsell! Oh yeah, that's Bunsell annihilation. To be fair, that wasn't really much of Bunsell's fault. He was nudged off by Gary, and if you've ever been nudged off by Gary, it's not a pleasant sensation. Mitch big sideways as Dave the Harp dips a wheel in the grass.
Yeah, no, that moment from Dave the Harp could now give Mitch a challenge for second. Yeah, Dave's gone wide again, so yeah, has he got dirt on his tyres, or is his tyres going off? He seems to be really struggling there. Yeah,
that is. I mean, one of the things that we do know from this car is because it is a road car, effectively. Mitch very quick through the corner, actually bumping the back of Dave the Harp there, and Steve F1 closing in. Yeah, because this is a road car, not a race car, the braking zones are ever so long in this car, and if you do brake 2 or 3 metres too late, you can go 4 or 5 metres past the corner. It's Dave the Harp big sideways again, but manages to hold on to third place at the moment. This is where really, if Mitch has got any pace about him, needs to try and pull away from Dave the Harp, because SGP has opened up a monster of a gap at the moment.
Yeah, it's just played right into SGP's hands, these three battling. But yeah, Dave the Harp won't believe he's just had the same move pulled on him again, because that was almost an identical move from Mitch. SGP pulled on him a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, you know what, you're absolutely right there. And Mitch is opening up that gap a little bit. I mean, maybe Dave is feeling like he's got a bit of tyre wear, or he's not feeling the grip in the car. And when you get into that situation, it's easy to get it all wrong, so to speak, and make the situation worse. Let's see what we've got here. Fluffy with Jason trying to close in on him. Gary and Groover there as well with Jimmy. I mean, these guys have been battling for some time. I mean, we're 10 minutes in and we've only had one person into the pits, and I believe that was Mandalorian, who may still actually be at the back. And this is somebody else is in the pits. I didn't see who that was.
I think Dave the Hart might have just punted actually. So as he bailed out, yeah, there he is. He's coming out the pits right now, but he needs to be in front of the pack for this to work.
Yeah, but he may just get lucky though, because both Fluffy, Jason, and Gary, that's all three. It's three. Oh, Fluffy, where you going, mate? Yeah, they absolutely balls up that corner. So Dave, I think, has kind of got away with that a little bit. Mandalorian's there as well. So. Yeah, Dave pitted, but three of the cars that were coming past him binned it at the first corner, so he's only got one car ahead of him now. And Mandalorian, who pitted early on, is now in 8th. But the question is anybody else going to pit? Because if the fuel is out... Oh, Demon are having a look at Twilight. This a battle for 4th place now that Dave the Harp has headed into the pits. And I've got to say, Twilight's having a fairly strong race at the moment.
That's a good point. We've not mentioned Twilight. He's just been quietly pulling away from the pack, and he's been holding his own against Demon R so far. So yeah, a very solid race from Twilight so far. So he's looking like he could, be well ahead of the pack this race and with a chance for a top 6 finish.
Yeah, definitely. And if he needs to pit and there's enough of a gap, I mean, Dave the Harp kind of didn't quite have enough of a gap, so it would concern anyone that was behind Dave the Harp. I think Demon R's got the run on Twilight here though, but I mean, it's interesting that Demon R's down in this position at the moment. It's not where we'd normally see him, but Twilight, is he going to fight it? You know what, I think he's just going for the drag race and going for the racing line, and I don't blame him. That's where the clean rubber is. Oh, but I think he's just tagged the wall. Gets a little bit twitchy, a little bit sideways. A little messy, but that'll do.
Yeah, he just about made it. I think he did need to make that move, because you say he's been dropping away from the leaders so far. A bit of a surprise to see Demon R not able to stay with them. So I don't know whether he's just trying to look after his tyres or fuel, or whether he's actually been struggling.
Yeah, it's a good question. Dave Harper's managed to get ahead of the pack at the moment, but to be honest, I mean, look, okay, he's not miles behind the cars ahead, but he's going to have to get a shifty on, as Gary has got Jimmy behind him, and Mandalorian, and Groove. Oh, Fluffy, he's going for the bridge.
That's a challenging corner. If you just get it wide there and tag the bridge, you're going to lose a lot of time. But yeah, Dave the Harp, I think he's banking on all the leaders pitting later in this race, and I guess getting an undercut on them by pushing now on fresher tyres.
Oh, Mandalorian, big sideways, sorry, as that big sideways put him into T-boning Jimmy there. I think he might actually be trying to give the position back. It's difficult to tell, but I mean, it's one of those things sometimes in this car, when you get a little bit sideways, if there's a car next to you, you're going to be taking them with you. As Mandalorian now trying to have a look on Gary, but I think he may be in a bit too late on the brakes, and he's sliding wide, and Gary comes back through, and Jimmy's still there. He's going to try and capitalise. No, a bit of contact between. I don't think Mandalorian realised that Groover was next to Jimmy there. But yeah, now Fluffy. Oh, well, Fluffy's been all over the place today, so let's see where he ends up going.
Yeah, I think Mandalorian, who's still recovering from a moment at the previous corner with Gary, and I just don't think he saw the cars getting a run at him there. So yeah, luckily it didn't end up a far worse incident.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I mean, one of the things with this car as well is, I mean, because the braking zones are so long. Oh my goodness me! Jimmy's braking zone was not very long there. I could only guess there was some kind of failure there, either brain or brake. But yeah, because the braking zones in this car are so long, it does kind of give you plenty of warning if you've got the braking wrong. You'll know fairly soon if you're going to be making a corner or not, and you can try and at least recover a bit. SGP though leading the way. Mitch has closed in a little bit, but not a lot. SGP still pumping in decent sector times, but Mitch in second, Steve F1 in third, Demon are now in fourth. He's pulled away a little bit from Twilight, who's sitting in 5th place. Dave the Harp, who has pitted in 6th, with Jason right behind him, and then Gary and Mandalorian, those two being side by side down towards the tight 90-degree left-hander. And Fluffy, I think, just got punted by Groover.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That wasn't Fluffy's fault there. I think he just got tagged, and that took him into the other cars in front. And Groover, well, is he waiting there?
I think he is. Yeah, you know what? I think he is, and that's good to see as we now see Rich Blues making his way around one of the corners. So yeah, there'll be a bit of carnage in that corner, but it can happen. I mean, you mentioned a moment ago, Steve, that Demon R was kind of a bit unusual. Well, I read a story the other day that was very unusual as well. Would you believe this, right? A squatter was evicted from a camping store, right? Police say the man has been charged with loitering with intent. Oh, Bunch was making an overtake. Well done.
Yeah, that's all with a nice attempted overtake there. It's still all very tight in the pack.
Oh, God. I mean, I've been waiting 4 weeks to do a dodgy joke. Alright. What we got going on at the moment, I need to blow my nose in a second, so I'm going to hand over commentary to you for 2 seconds. Steve, who are we on and what's going on?
Well, we're looking at Dave the Harp. He still hasn't been able to pull away from this pack at the moment, which is surprising. He's now got Jason closing on the back of him. This is not what he needs at all. He needs to be pulling away from the pack now and starting to close a little bit on the leaders in case they do make a pit stop later on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Dave's in a situation where if the leaders do not pit, he could be in trouble. Oh, Mandalorian gives Jimmy a little nudge. I think they just about get away with that one, though. I mean, this is the thing, and we've mentioned it a couple of times, it's a new car for the drivers to drive in this championship. There's different settings, different tyres, and the thing is, all fluffy. He's going for looking at a move on Gary as Mandalorian, also looking as well. I think Gary got a little deep on the brakes there, may have given Jason a bit of a nudge, but Jason survives that one. Mandalorian now trying to make his way around Jimmy and around Gary. Oh, this could get a little tricky into the first corner, and it's Fluffy, not Gary, sorry.
Yeah, 3 wide here. Is Mandalorian going to make the move to the inside? No, Fluffy carries the speed around the outside and keeps the place.
Good bit of driving, but once again we can see that even though these guys are battling, Dave the Harp is not pulling away.
Yeah, this is a surprise. Dave the Harp had such good pace at the beginning of this race, but since he's put these fresh tyres on, he just hasn't been able to continue that pace. So I don't know why that might be. But
you know what? Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors. Oh, Mandalorian, yeah, he's having a big off there.
Yeah, Mandalorian, he does seem to be struggling with this car quite a bit. Yeah, normally it's another one we would see further up the field, but just can't seem to make a breakthrough through the field.
Well, one of the things you mentioned about David Hartley, you don't know, I mean, it could be, if he put a bit of extra fuel in, he'd have more fuel in his car than these guys. And having a little bit more fuel in could actually result in the car being considerably heavier. Oh, as Dave's actually been overtaken by Jason and by Fluffy. I think he's had a bit of an error in the corner. Oh, Bonsall nearly tags him as well as they're now 3 wide in the background. This is definitely heating up. I hope Dave's got his coffee on.
Yeah, now Dave must be thinking, why did I pit? Face just going away from him now. It looked like he made a mistake there. Whether he's just struggling with his tyres since he's put fresh tyres on, but yeah, this is from looking like a contender for the win. It looks to be all slipping away from him now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's found himself in that situation of pushing hard to try and pull away and pushing hard, and it's resulted in going slower. Or he's dipping the wheels on the grass again, and so is Bunzel in the background. Whereas, yeah, I mean, it's not always easy to drive smooth and calm when you're being harassed by 7 people behind you, one of which being Fluffy, who's right on him now. Give him a little bit of a nudge, but I think Dave the Harp, is going to hold on to the position as they make their way to the bridge. I mean, maybe this is why the guys up at the front have been able to just eke out that gap a little bit, because they're, I wouldn't say driving calmer, but they're not having to deal with the pack.
Yeah, as I say, the front 3 have got a nice gap now to the rest. Not much action going on between the 3 of them, so whether they're just playing a waiting game on strategy now, whether they're trying to save a bit of fuel or just bide their time to the end of the last few laps. But
you know what? Sorry, I'm just going to put in a sec. Fluffy has just managed to get away with sheer bloody murder. He totally messed up 3 corners and somehow managed to not touch anybody. And until now, everybody getting around him quite nicely there. To be fair, it was good to see. But he's going a little bit deep now. It's weird, the penultimate corner here is just a simple 90-degree corner, but it's a corner we're seeing a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just braking a little bit too late. They seem to come out the previous corner side by side a lot, so whether it's just a case of braking a touch too late and then the car starts to get sideways.
Could be, as we've still got battles going on down towards turn 1. Gary trying to make a move on Fluffy, Mandalorian trying to make a move on Jimmy in the background, SGP still leading the way though, Mitch still right there behind him, and Steve F1 closing in now as well. Demon R, has he closed the gap in at all? No, he's still quite a long way back, but he has pulled away from Twilight, who's sitting in 5th place, and Dave the Harp has somehow managed to get himself back into 6th place as we see cars off in the background. So Dave once again is in 6th. I think Jason must have had an off somewhere because he's dropped positions. But Dave once again, I mean, he's still not been able to get away from these guys, and if he could, I mean, he could still have the pace to get involved with the leading cars.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he has shown the pace on this track, and he's a driver who won the opening race of the previous season. So, he was probably fancying his chances coming into this one. But it'll be interesting to see now whether he can make that break now and start to put pressure on the cars in front.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see as Rich is making a move on Jason. Mandalorian taking a very tight line there, and Gary now having a look up the inside, but thinks better of it. And Rich trying to come around the outside, but Jason going for the undercut on Gary may get that move done because he's now got the inside line for the right-hander leading onto the back straight, but he'll have a tighter line than Mandalorian and Gary. I think there may have been a little bit of a touch there between Jason and Mandalorian, but Gary's got the run, and Steve F1 has really closed in on Mitch now.
Yeah, Steve F1 has really closed in. So whether Steve F1 is pushing harder or whether Mitch has started to struggle a little bit on tyres, but yeah, Steve F1's starting to ramp up the pressure a little bit now. So Mitch has run wide, I think, so this might give Steve F1 a chance.
Yeah, it's not a corner you really want to run wide heading over onto the bridge, but Steve F1 just a little too far away to be able to attack into the corner at the end of the bridge, because see from how much SGP's car is dipping down, how hard he's going on the brakes to try and stay ahead of these guys. I mean, there's going hard on the brakes and there's going late on the brakes. One works, one doesn't, and it's the late one that don't work. But yeah, Steve F1 has got a run here on Mitch. If Mitch goes defensive around this right-hander, he could compromise himself into the penultimate corner. We mentioned we've seen people struggling in this penultimate corner. Let's see how these two get on here today, or this time around. Oh, Mitch is not the best of exits, but gets away with it just about.
Yeah, Steve F1, his last lap was his best lap of the race by almost a second. So whether he's been saving a little bit of fuel and now he's decided to go into full attack mode, but yeah, he's really putting the pressure on now. But yeah, look at this.
Fluffy, Gary! Oh, Gary's taking Rich and Fluffy's taking another barrier. Oh my goodness me! Absolute carnage. I couldn't tell exactly what happened there, but I am hearing that all the drivers are okay, and it may just have been a simple racing incident there. Not like someone's done out really dodgy. But looking back at this battle, Steve F1, sorry, go on.
It looked like they all just had a load of speed, too much speed into the corner, and it all ran wide onto the grass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, that long right-hander, if you get the line wrong slightly and too much speed, as Steve F1 has got a run on Mitch here. Mitch is going defensive, but it's interesting around it, because if you go defensive, you're going to slow yourself down. But if you try and make the move up the inside like Steve F1 is, it's really difficult to do. So for the leading car, I think the best thing you can do is kind of stay on the racing line, and if the other guy goes for it, then you let him go for it, because they'll be slow on the exit of the corner as Mitch flashes his hazards to Steve F1. I think that may be, watch out mate, you bumped me in that corner.
Yeah, Steve F1 sensed his opportunity there, but Mitch just had enough speed around the outside. There was a little bit of door-to-door contact, but yeah, it all looked okay. They're still both running no problem. But yeah, this battle is going to carry on. I think coming now onto the back straight, this is where Steve F1 could have his opportunity.
Yeah, he could. Mitch just had a big wobble as well. Yeah, Steve F1 is more than close enough to really attack. I mean, interestingly though, we've not seen the slipstream having a massive effect here in this race, but Steve F1 has got the run on Mitch. Mitch won't be getting any benefit of slipstream from SGP ahead, so it is a simple drag race down towards the fast kink, and it's Steve F1 who's got the corner. Mitch taking a really wide line to try and get a maximum speed on the exit, but I wouldn't be surprised if Steve F1's going to cover that off. Yes, he is. So can Mitch go around the outside or even go for the switchback undercut? Oh, he's gone in.
No, between the two of them there, and as you say, Steve F1 going, as soon as he got the move, he went to the inside to the next corner to just cover off the possibility of Mitch coming back at him.
Yeah, Mitch went through the hairpin a little bit too quick as well and sort of got too close to the back. Steve F1 as Bunsel's running wide into the barrier he goes. That's unfortunate, but luckily hasn't collected anybody else there with him. So yeah, interesting. I mean, you mentioned a moment ago as well about Steve F1 putting his fastest lap in. Interestingly, at the point you said that, we'd not long past the halfway mark in this race, and to be fair, that's a big marker point for all of the drivers, because knowing how much fuel they start on, 80 litres, if they've got to the halfway mark with 40 litres or more, they'll know they can get to the end. If they've got less than 40 litres, they'll know they either need to save fuel or pit. Oh, where's Rich going? Where's Rich going? Oh, how was he not taking anybody there?
Yeah, I was expecting to go flying into the barriers there. He seemed to lose it on the brakes, and then, yeah, lucky he just seemed to recover and not hit anybody.
You know what? It's probably the best line is taken around that evil left-hander with that horrible wall sticks out. But no, I mean, it's easy to get your braking wrong, or dip a wheel on the grass, or collect a barrier somewhere in braking, and getting yourself all out of shape as Jimmy's running a little bit wide on the back of Mandalorian. And Rich is going to have a bit of a run on Jimmy here. Bunsell watching from the background. He recently recovering from his hit into the barrier. Jimmy going for the move. Is he going to be able to get it done?
Yeah, Jimmy and Rich obviously good friends off the track, and nice to see them both at the front of the pack here, both having quite a strong run, although Rich now into the pits, but yeah, both seem to be looking quite good in this car. So yeah, are they both going to be in for good seasons, I wonder?
Well, hopefully, as Bunsel's having a look up the inside of Jimmy, as he can't quite get the move done, but trying to get Jimmy out of shape nonetheless. But he's got Mandalorian now closing in on him. I mean, this thing as well, with this kind of car, this could benefit some drivers more than others, and the likes of Jimmy, who in the last championship basically sort of didn't take a back seat, but over the last two championships I think he's done a lot to try and improve on his driving etiquette, which has kept him sort of running a lean engine mode, keeping out of trouble, whereas now he might feel, you know what, now he can start turning it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good approach, just to learn the basics and then grow in confidence. And yeah, good racing from them here with Mandalorian. They're all giving each other space and all keeping their foot on the brake. It's good to see. Yeah,
I mean, talking about learning the basics as well. I mean, talk about learning the basics, right? I'm terrible with relationships. You know, my wife, right? She kicked me out because she was fed up with me saying South American animal puns. I told her, okay, I'll pack her my bags.
I don't pay for that
one. Shocking, I know, terrible, I know. Anyway, Jimmy, what can you do, Jimmy? Well, the thing is interesting with Jimmy, I mean, you mentioned about Jimmy and Rich. They've been on a similar pace, so I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy and Rich could be in for a good battle between themselves over the course of this championship. And the thing is, seeing the likes of Jason and Mandalorian, I think he's going breaking a little bit wrong there. Yeah, Jason into the barrier as well. Oh, and here comes Gary, just to make it a little bit more interesting in the corner.
Yeah, that chicane, such a tricky one. The braking good 200 metres from the corner, so it's if you just slightly get your braking zone wrong there, you're going straight off the track, and yeah, Mandalorian and one or two others got it completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're saying about it not being a racing car. A racing car, I mean, for example, there's an Asin that we used in the last championship. That corner, you probably brake at about 80 metres very gently and fly through the corner. But the old Demon Eyes ran wide into the into the long right hander, into the barrier, and around he goes. Here comes Twilight. Is Twilight going to be able to capitalise here? This could be disastrous.
Wow, this is a tough start for the defending champion. He was already a good few seconds beyond the lead three, and now he's spun as well. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with Demon R today.
Oh, Mitch has gone into the pits. He's got 20 litres of fuel. You know, let's see, 20, 40, 60. Oh, Jimmy's gone in the penultimate corner. I was just trying to work out whether I thought Mitch had enough fuel to get to the end. I think he did, but maybe he's decided, you know what, put a little bit of fuel in, get some fresh tyres, and see how the pace is on the car. Interestingly, though, I think if Demon R hadn't have crashed, Mitch would have been coming out very close to Demon R, but now Demon R's coming under pressure from Twilight, Rich is coming under pressure from Mandalorian, who's got his indicator on. Maybe he's trying to tell Rich which side he wants to overtake on as Rich big sideways through turn 1.
Yeah, Mitch says he's come back out in P3, so he wasn't really looking like he was going to come back at Steve F1 or SGP, so maybe he just thought, let's just pit and try something a little bit different and see if I can come back at them later in the race.
Yeah, Jimmy's off again. I mean, he had an off a moment ago. Oh, big contact as well between Groover, I think, maybe. No, it wasn't Groover.
Harry, I think. It looked like they just... Yeah, two friends. It looked like Rich might have just got a wheel on the grass and then contact with Gary. Just an unfortunate incident, that one.
Absolute shame. I'd send a report in. It might be your mate off the track, on the track. Nobody's friends. But no, I'll do something. Yes, okay, Mitch. I'm not sure whether pitting would be the right decision. I mean, okay, you've got nothing to lose sitting in that third place, but unless the tyres switch on straight away, he's going to struggle with Jimmy trying to make a move around Rich or up the inside of Rich, but Rich has now got the inside into the right-hander that leads on to the kink for the back straight as Fluffy goes wide. That's not a good place to go wide because Fluffy could get swamped. Oh, as Rich and Mandalorian come together. Oh dear, and Mandalorian waiting for Rich there, so Mandalorian must be thinking that maybe it was a bit of his fault. Fluffy's still going to come under pressure though from Jimmy.
Yeah, such a shame for Rich there. He was having a nice battle with Jimmy, and then that's an unfortunate one. Mandalorian just looked to have good momentum and just unfortunately tagged the rear of Rich, and it sent them both into the barriers.
Yeah, that would definitely be... Oh, I think Mandalorian's got his braking wrong again for the kink, and so has Rich. Rich is off big time. Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah, Rick. About 3 incidents in a space for a few corners. It's been horrible that for him after a good run, but yeah, I'm sure there's still time for him to be able to recover though. And SGP, now looking at the leader, SGP, he's still got a nice gap to Steve F1 here, so he looks to have things relatively under control at the moment.
Well, here's a question for you, Steve, right? If these cars, I mean, these aren't race cars, so they handle very differently, they've got no downforce, and they're on racing hard tyres, will having an off have more of an effect on the tyres than it would have done in, say, the Zanassi?
I'm wondering if it might be less, because obviously that car was all about that. Did seem to be very sensitive with the softer tyres. This car, the tyres just have generally less grip anyway. So yeah, I think it probably has less of an effect, if anything. But yeah, it's.
Is it the last lap of the race? Or is Mitch trying to warm his tyre? You know what? Mitch pitted not long ago, and if he's trying to warm his tyres up, that would hint that his tyres are cold coming out of the pits. He hasn't got the grip. So he's pitted, hoping for a benefit, and he's ended up feeling like he needs to warm up his tyres. And it's interesting that that's happened at that point, because you know what? I think having an off on these tyres is less of a hindrance. But if your temperatures drop, that's a problem. So where is... Oh, we're four wide going into turn one. Bunsell, Gary, Groover, Mandalorian, and Jimmy, and no one's crashed. Bloody hell. Well done.
Yeah. Good racing there. But yeah, I noticed with Mitch, and his last lap time was it's about a second slower than he was managing before he pitted. So yeah, clearly it looks like he was having trouble with those tyres. I wonder if that was the same issue Dave the Hart was having after he pitted.
Maybe this is a cracking battle going on here. Oh no, I think Mandalorian just tagged the back of Gary. Oh, Jimmy's been nerfed a little bit wide. I think Mandalorian's backing out and letting people through. That was unfortunate. That was some beautiful driving there. So guys going 3-4 wide. I mean, I'd never recommend going 3-4 wide, but going 3-4 wide and getting through the corners, unfortunately. I mean, I would say by the looks of it, it does look like Mandalorian and Jason have not had anywhere near as much practice in this car recently as they would have liked, because normally they'd be ahead of the pack, but it does kind of show that those guys that are down there in the pack have been improving a lot as Jason gets his braking all slightly wrong, I think, unless he got nerfed from behind. But yeah, these guys that are perhaps normally in the pack, they seem to have kind of got to grips a bit with the car. Jason nursed Jimmy a little bit wide, and Gary now on the back of Bunsell.
Yeah, say that those that are in the pack seem to be a bit more comfortable with this 3 or 4 wide. Jason and Mandalorian, that they've had less time, I think, we believe, to practice, and yeah, that's shown a little bit at the moment. They both just cannot make a break away from this pack. Yeah,
and 3 wide at the moment as we head down towards the Fast King. This will not end well at 3 wide. Gary's early on the brakes. Fluffy trying to go through there as quick as he can. So it's interesting there. I mean, Gary realised at that point there was no way he was making that corner. And this is the thing in this car: if the braking point is 200 metres and you're on the... Oh, Fluffy's gone wide on his own. Mandalorian goes wide as well. And that's the thing: you try and go too fast around the corner, you're just going to end up drifting off the track. As you know what, Steve, I think... yeah, we're going to be starting the last lap of the race across the line the next time around, because all of a sudden we're into the 38th minute of this race and we've still got a mad pack here, which interestingly Dave the Harp is not in.
Yeah, so yes, it looks like Steve F1 and SGP then have met. Oh, who was that? It's flying off in the background. But yeah, Steve F1 and SGP both don't believe have pitted, so it looks like they are going to be able to make it to the end. So those who pitted are now probably thinking, yeah, we should have just tried to stay out as well.
Yeah, I mean, David Hart pitted, and Jason running a little bit wide. Mandalorian pitted early on. Rich pitted, but yes, Rich pitted, but he's been helped here in that he's catching up to the pack. But I don't think he's going to be able to benefit with fresher tyres, because this is the thing, these tyres are going to last so well. I mean, it's very different to the Zanassin. In the Zanassin, if you overheat the tyres, they're punished. They'll warm up quite quickly, but if you overheat them, they're not very nice. These tyres, if you don't warm them up, they're not going to be very nice for you.
Jason looked like he was going to make a late pit stop, not a planned one. He's still in the pitch big sideways.
Oh dear. Fluffy being overtaken by Jason here as Bunsell trying to close in as well. Okay, so this is where we went 3 and 4 wide the lap ago, as we are now on to the last lap of the race as well, by the way. Fluffy trying to make a way up the inside, is he? No. Jason covers that off. Bunsell's in there. Ooh, Bunsell got big sideways and nearly took out Fluffy.
Yeah, that was great racing. 4 or 5 wide there, and they all just managed to get through in one peak. But look at Steve F1, he's starting to close the gap here to SGP in the latter stage of this race. So could we still have a battle on for the win here?
You know what? We definitely could, and Steve F1 is definitely within slipstream range, so he's going to be closing. And to be fair, it doesn't matter if you lead the race from the first lap, it's across the line at the end. Does Steve F1 going for the move, is he? Ooh, no, can't quite get up alongside.
Yeah, and he just got back onto the racing line there. the maximum speed through the corner so that he still could have potentially another chance to have a go before the end of the race.
Yeah, I think Twilight just ran wide as well through the right-hander leading onto the back straight. Yes, he did. That's allowed Dave the Harp, who did manage to break away from the pack, and having done that has managed to catch up to Twilight. Twilight's little error is going to give Dave the Harp the position, but to be fair, Twilight's had a fantastic race sitting in 5th. I don't think he'll be too disheartened with 6th at the moment. But SGP, he's got to be ever so careful. The former champion, Steve F1, all over his rear wing as SGP is hard on the brakes as that car nosedives into the tarmac, and Steve F1 car's nosedives into the AstroTurf.
Yeah, interesting line there. He hasn't helped, and he's got sideways. He's now lost. That's cost him time, actually. So whether going across the Astro, he's got dirt on his tyres, and that's caused him to lose grip.
Quite possibly, because he would have been wanting to close in. Oh yeah, he's struggling a little bit there. He would have been wanting to close in, heading into the penultimate corner. As we have a quick look back at the pack, as Gary is ahead of Bunsell, ahead of Jason. This is still mental. No, Gary's into the barrier, and so is Bunsell, and so is Jason, and so is Jimmy. Oh no, big carnage there. I think someone else was into the barrier as well, but SGP, is he managing to hold on? Yes, into the final corner. Excuse me. Oh, he's not going to run wide, is he? No, he's not. He's going to control it nicely through the final corner. He's going to take the first win of the Walker Memorial Trophy ahead of Steve F1 in 2nd place. What a race between those two. Mitch, I don't think pitting in the end was the right decision for him. If he needed the fuel, fair enough, but maybe been better off keeping his tyres. 3rd place for him. Demon R, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed finishing in 4th place. But Dave the Harp, I mean, it's an interesting one for Dave the Harp. He's done really well in the last 10 minutes to get back up into 5th place. Was Fluffy, big, wide. But yeah, I'm not sure Dave the Harp, I don't know if he'll be happy or not about that result. Twilight, I think, will be though. Fluffy's got to be careful because he's got Jimmy behind him and Bunsell trying to make the move into the final corner. Can he do it? How much is Jimmy going to fight it? He's going to fight it all the way.
Oh, and then he's running right into the wall. So who's going to get to the line first? I think Bunsell's going to get it.
I think you might. Yes, he is. So Jimmy trying to carry the speed around the corner, couldn't quite do it, and it looks like Mandalorian may be going slow. I think there was a bit of an incident on that last lap, and I think Mandalorian is letting people through. So here comes Groover to cross the line.
Gary into the pits, and James slows. There's been some kind of incident on the last lap there.
You know what? I think there may have been a little bit of contact between the two of them, and causing a bit of a crash. And so James, it looked like he was making sure that he finished behind Gary on that one. But wow, for a first race in the Walker Memorial Trophy, it definitely didn't disappoint on the DGT Richter scale. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and yet again another really exciting race, particularly in the pack. But good to see we got a lead battle at the end. It was quite static for the most part, but then right at the end, we had a good battle between SGP and Steve F1. They've been close in previous championships, and again, only about half a second between them at the finish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, congratulations to SGP on taking the win there. I mean, Steve F1 finishing in 2nd place right behind him, can't argue with that at all. Brilliant result for them. I mean, I think Mitch, I mean, okay, he may not be too pleased. I'll just mention as well, actually, as we were doing last season, we will be doing the post-race comments again on the screen, so feel free to read them if you dare. I think for Mitch, I definitely think pitting was the wrong decision. I mean, the question would be, if he needed fuel, then fair enough. But are these tyres good enough that you don't need to change them? Because if putting on a brand new set of tyres and they're cold, and that's going to cause you to be 2 seconds slower over a couple of laps rather than 2 seconds faster, is it worth doing?
Yeah, I think this is going to be something interesting we're going to see this season, because in previous championships the cars have been on the super soft tyres, but it looks on these hard tyres like the undercut's just not going to work. It takes a good couple of laps. We saw Mitch there having to warm his tyres, so it looks like when you put the fresh tyres on, it takes a good couple of laps before they're up to temperature. It's actually pitting, it isn't actually gaining you an advantage from what we've seen in this row.
I mean, it's interesting. Maybe that's what happened to Dave the Harp earlier on, where he's pitted and perhaps put a bit of fuel in to make sure he's going to get to the end comfortably, and may have put a fresh set of tyres on. I don't know if he did, but if he did put a fresh set of tyres on and his were cold, comes out of the pits in the pack, and then he's trying to sort of get away, but his tyres are cold, it's a double-edged sword. Now, if he didn't change his tyres, maybe his tyres were a little colder anyway from going in the pits and still having a bit of an issue, but I think you'd go with a little colder rather than stone cold, unless you're into WWE. I think you're right in that this championship's going to be very different, because part of the undercut being so powerful has normally been the boost, but if people are going to realise, you know what, we don't need to pit, then okay, you might pit and come out near the back, but you're not really going to go anywhere, because all of the cars in front of you probably aren't going to need to pit.
Yeah, we saw just how much time Dave the Harp lost just by being in that pack for a couple of laps. Probably lost about 10 seconds in the pits, but by the end of the race he was a good probably 30 seconds off the leaders. So it just shows that how it is, if you want to be up at the front, to be in clear air and just running at a good pace at the front in those early stages to make the gap.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see how the rest of this championship pans out, because it is like no other DGT championship in that all of the events are going to be held at the location's latest time of day, which, Steve, I'm pretty sure you're aware of what the conditions will be at Bathurst, which is where race 2 is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing the possibility it could be almost dark at the start of the race in Bathurst, which, yeah, that will be an added challenge for the driver. Not the easiest track at the best of times. Add some darkness, yeah, that's going to really add some spice to the race.
That it is. Now, I'm sure there's loads of stuff we could have talked about throughout the course of this race, and I mean, there are a couple of things that I do want to mention in case people are not aware of it, or if I didn't mention it at the start of this video. There are a few features to this particular championship. Obviously, it's called the Walker Memorial Trophy. We're using a Toyota Supra, which was the Paul Walker Fast and Furious car, but it goes on a little bit more than that, in that all of the races this championship are pretty much on street tracks. Because in Fast and Furious they're street racing, so we'll go on that route. But also, they tended to do a lot of their racing at night, so that's why the events are all at the latest possible time of day. So it is very sort of featured towards that kind of approach. But not only that, we've got another new feature, which is this race obviously had a effectively one-shot qualifying session, a 5-minute qualifying session, which was long enough for the drivers to get one lap in, right? But from the next race onwards, the grid will be formed up in the current championship standings order. So SGP winning, he's going to be on pole at the next race. Steve F1, he came second, he'll be on second. Do you think that's going to potentially, is it going to mix things up? Is it going to allow drivers to focus a bit more on just how the car's going to be in a race?
Yeah, well, what it's going to mean is that people are going to kind of be in the grid positions that their form represents. So yeah, as you say, the next race we're going to see SGP and Steve F1 at the front, where we're used to seeing them, but those further in the pack, they're going to be around the drivers that they're used to being around. So yeah, I think we're going to see, a few rivalries this season with drivers just battling against the same people even in the pack. I mean, we saw like Rich and Jimmy, for example, today.
Yeah,
will be next to each other on the grid at the next race, I think. So yeah, we're going to see some good battles, I think, throughout the field.
Yeah, hopefully we will. And also, just to mention, obviously there's been the reveal of the next championship car, which at the time of doing this recording, Steve F1, Steve over here, has not seen, so I can't ask you for your reaction about it, but it'll be interesting to see what your reaction is about it when you actually find out what it is. And if you haven't seen that bit, folks, go back to the start of the race. But okay, trying to think if there was anything else that I was going to mention. Actually, yes, you know what? There was one more thing that I did want to mention. Obviously, we're in very difficult times at the moment with COVID-19 and all that kind of stuff, and obviously the gaming world is kind of taking precedent over things at the moment, but at the end of the day I think we all just have to realise, you know what, we're all just human and we just need to try and get through it with as much laughter as we can, and try and not take things too overly seriously, and don't be afraid of ordering food from your favourite local takeaway, because trust me, when you've not eaten it for 6-7 weeks, it tastes absolutely bloody amazing. But it does lead me on to a story that I was reading this morning, which was about a guy standing in a pub, right, and a Chinese guy comes into the pub and stood next to him and starts drinking. And the guy said to him, he's like, "Do you know of any of those martial arts like kung fu or jiu-jitsu or karate?" And the Chinese guy was like, "Why the fuck you ask me that? Is it because I'm Chinese?" He says, "No, it's because you're drinking my fucking beer." And on that note, I think it's time to check out the confirmed race result and the championship standings. Steve, thank you very much for joining us on commentary for your first time ever. You did very well.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Yep. And now I'll go and I'll pack on my bags. To be fair, I think after those jokes, they'll have been packed for me. Anyway, confirmed race result for race 1 of the Walker Memorial Trophy. SGP taking the victory, Steve F1 second place, Mitch does take third, Demon R 4th, Dave the Harp 5th, Twilight finished 6th, Fluffy Planet finished in 7th place ahead of Bunsel in 8th, Jimmy in 9th, Rich Blues finished in 10th with Groover in 11th, Jason in 12th, Formula Gary 13th and Mandalorian in 14th. A very interesting start to the championship, that's for sure. Okay, let's take a look at what that result has done to the championship standings. Well, they're exactly the same as the race result, except for having DGT League, SRI, Tyler, Diesel and Conrad all on 0 points, with SRI and Tyler unable to make the race and Diesel and Conrad unable to come in as reserves for them. However, things may change at the next event. Well, they'll definitely do that. They'll definitely change. And as we've mentioned already, the next race is from Mount Panorama, Bathurst. It could be dark. It'll be an interesting one to race. It'll be an interesting one to commentate on. And we'll look forward to having you joining us for all of the action here at the Dynamic GT League. If you do want to get involved, feel free to check out their Facebook page, DGT League or Dynamic GT League. Drop them a message and they'll give you all the information that you need. Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe and we'll see you all again soon.